Hi, my name is Dillon, and I've been studying the Dymaxion Home this semester. It was designed by Buckminster Fuller in 1930 and constructed in 1945. It is now located in Greenfield Village, Michigan. I think to understand the Fuller house completely, we have to look at it through the lens of someone living through 1945, which is they just seen the events of World War II. And this would have been an awful time where they seen a bunch of dystopian governments. So this idea of utopia became politically popular among politicians and artists, and I think Fuller was in this movement, and he wanted to radically change the family dynamic. He wanted to radically change how we live, to move towards this utopian concept that was popular at the time. This is the Dymaxion floor plan. Something to keep in mind here is it is only 1,000 square feet, which would have been 500 less than the average home of the time. Heading into the interiors of the Dymaxion home, we have the kitchen here. We see the stainless steel and aluminum countertop, which would have been easier to clean than some of the alternatives in other houses. The idea behind the Dymaxion home was to be efficient as possible. Because they had a compact space, they wanted all storage to be compact as well, and they wanted everything to be easy to use. One of the most unique aspects of the Dymaxion home is its exterior and its facade. This aluminum finishing is really unique and it's recognizable, but I believe that this was done from a utilitarian standpoint than its design philosophy. The aluminum was chosen because it was easy to be mass-produced and was able to be used directly after World War II. In addition, this design allowed for natural heating and cooling without the use of extra energy. So I believe that this really came from a need for aluminum rather than the want for the aluminum. As we move on to the interiors, it becomes harder to talk about the finishes used because a lot of the finishes were customizable to the consumer. When this was going to be mass-produced, there would have been options for carpeting and different types of hardwood. And while the original model and the one in Henry Ford Museum used this type of brown hardwood, that would have been up to the consumer to decide. What would have remained consistent for everyone and what we can judge this building for was this aluminum ceiling and the spoke in the center. And this would have not just only changed the form away from a cube, but it also would have made the room feel lighter, physically lighter, and it would have opened up the space a little more. The advertisements sent out by the Dymaxion group showed that they really wanted to show how customizable the house was. They said that any furnishings could go inside this place, although what they traditionally used to showcase the buildings was modernism. They wanted to be minimalistic to showcase how you could live compactly, and they also showcased a lot of just modern furniture, which would have been popular at the time in the 40s. So they had Art Deco and just minimalistic designs furniture-wise. What's really unique about this house specifically is there's not a big need for a lot of the furniture. A lot of the actual storage is built into the walls innately. There are shelves that rotate and dressers that tuck back into the walls. So you might need an end table on the edge of the bed like you see, but there's no need to actually bring in a full dresser or a full storage. This was one of the advertisements that the Dymaxion group put out, where they just wanted to emphasize that this would have been simple living, this is the future, it's a customizable home, it's more efficient, and it uses new technology. They really wanted to appeal to the idea of being different and forming a new utopia. One of the really interesting things about the Dymaxion house was it was a response to geopolitical events. In 1945, World War II ended, and the factories in America no longer were able to mass produce military items because there was no need for them. So these factories were shutting down. So what Fuller wanted to do was send houses through these lines without having to retool. They were able to create the aluminum facade and a lot of the interiors and then package them and have them just be mass produced through these same assembly lines. And what this would have allowed to do was keep the jobs and keep the infrastructure going that fueled wartime industry, but also be able to make houses cheaper, more efficiently, and have them put anywhere. It would have been an easier way to do construction, was what Fuller wanted to do. To show that Fuller really wanted to reimagine all of society rather than just housing, I've included photos of the Dymaxion car and Dymaxion map as well. And all these do is show that he really took ideas from nature, he was a big naturalist, and applied them to his own design. He wanted to reimagine all elements of society, not just housing, and he wanted to live more naturally and what he believed was more honestly.